Look, it's a very difficult time for Julian. He's looking down the barrel of US extradition. We're in a position where the High Court's asked the US to give assurances he could be extradited very soon, within the coming months, if the US provides those assurances. What we've said is, of course, and has always been, that we want the case to be dropped. So for Julian and for all of us, we're encouraged that the president has made this comment that the US is considering dropping the case. We've been calling for this case to be dropped since he was arrested 5 years ago. He's been in prison, in a high security prison, for 5 years without conviction because of the US extradition request that was brought by the Trump administration, not the Biden administration, not the Obama administration, but by Trump. And so we say the Biden administration should drop this.
I mean, watching a video of this exchange, there's certainly scope to view it as a somewhat offhand remark. There's a big difference between, for example, issuing a statement saying the issue's under consideration and being put on the spot by someone repeatedly asking a question. The Prime Minister, as we said, has described it as encouraging, but are we putting too much stock in this comment?
Look, the Australian government we've been working with the Australian government. The Australian government, as the Prime Minister has just said, has raised this at the highest levels. It is being considered. As President Biden has said today, he wouldn't say it if it wasn't correct. So we are encouraged by it. But of course, we have a very small window of opportunity right now. As I said, the High Court decided that if the US offers assurances about the death penalty and his ability to rely on the First Amendment, that he could be extradited to the United States. The US has a number of weeks to respond. They're due to respond next week under the timetable set down by the court. And as I've said before, instead of offering the assurance, the US should be dropping this case. It's been unanimously condemned by free speech groups around the world, by the media, and it should be dropped. So it's encouraging to hear the president saying that they are considering dropping the case, and we say they should do so. And the time is now. The Australian Prime Minister and our government needs to be putting as much pressure as they can on the US to reach the right conclusion, which is to drop this case and allow Julian to come home.
And you have touched on this, but Julian Assange's health, how is it going? I know that it's been serious enough for him not to be able to attend court. Does that increase the urgency?
Of course, it increases the urgency. His health has declined significantly over the years. The accepted medical evidence before the British courts is that if he's extradited, he will be caused to commit suicide because of the oppressive prison conditions. This is a very serious humanitarian situation. As the Prime Minister says, enough is enough. And this uncertainty and the prospect of a potential extradition in the coming weeks and months for Julian is a terrifying prospect for him and his family, given the medical evidence. And it's a serious, serious situation. So we say the time is now. The Australian government needs to be pushing as hard as they possibly can, and we're continuing to work with them, and grateful to the Prime Minister for continuing to raise it with President Biden and at the highest levels in the United States.